Inshallah, we are starting a book that I actually have not taught before, nor have I read it in its totality. But it's always been a book that I've kind of wanted to teach and kind of wanted to go over. So I thought that this would be a good opportunity to be able to share some of the reflections from this book. This book is authored by Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi. There's two ways of saying his name. One is Ghazālī and one is Ghazālī rahimahullah. Both are okay to say. Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi was born in the year 1058 and passed away in the year 1111. And he was born in the year 450 Hijri and the year 505 Hijri, which is he's about in the 4th century of Islam, the 5th century of Islam. He was born in Tus. Tus is a city in Iran. And Iran has a large population of Shias that were around there. It's interesting that Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi had some refutations in his life that he wrote against people, and the little refutations he did was of the Shias. And he existed in the time of the Seljuk Empire. The Seljuks had just about 17 years prior to this gained control of the surrounding area. And the Seljuk Empire was a massive empire that stretched all the way to Afghanistan, modern day Afghanistan, from Turkey, went all the way to Khorasan, Syria, Turkmenistan. So it was a massive empire. They were also the empire that was existent when the Crusades took place. So Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi is predating the Crusades, but shortly right after him, the Crusades takes place. Imām Ghazālī is considered to be one of the greatest scholars of Islam. There are people who obviously hate him and don't like him, but there are many who appreciate and acknowledge his knowledge and just the giant that he was. If you don't know Imām Ghazālī or have studied Imām Ghazālī, you're never going to be able to truly appreciate genuine academia of the deen coupled with spirituality. Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi, he has a very interesting journey of his life. He authored over 70 books. At a young age, his father passed away. His father had a lot of love for ulama and scholars. So his father had two kids, Hamid and I believe it was Ahmad. And Hamid is Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi, or Muhammad is Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi. And his father would take him to the madrasa and to study the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi did that in Iran. His father passes away. Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi is a super intelligent student. And he has this transformative moment in his life. One day, he was sitting down and he had his books, and a thief came and grabbed his books and started running away. So Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi starts running after him and says that, please don't steal my knowledge, please don't steal my knowledge. The thief turns around and says, what good is that knowledge that can be stolen? Mm-hmm. So Ghazālī goes back and just starts committing everything to memory. And we were talking about Mauritania with Hamza, Ahmad, and them. One of the unique things about Mauritanian scholars is that they commit everything to memory. Sheikh Hamza Yusuf mentioned in one place that there was a scholar in Mauritania who said that I have 40 books memorized in 40 different fields of Islam. And in Mauritania, generally, if a scholar is sitting with the book open in front of them, they think the scholar is a bit deficient in their head. He has a low IQ, that he needs his notes. And even when we studied by our teachers and our scholars and stuff, the culture was that when the Sata that they came and they sat down, there was no notes in front of them. Everything they did off of their memory. Their memories were phenomenal. One of my ustads, Mara Suleiman Choksi, I read about him on Sunni Forum. And you guys know what Sunni Forum is? No? That's like the Muslim Reddit. Like back in the day, like when we wanted to, that was our WhatsApp, that was everything for a Sunni Forum. And on Sunni forum, there was like a little blurb someone wrote. That was actually one of my inspirations to go study in South Africa, reading the story. That Most Joksi said that in my 7 years of studying, or 9 years of studying, I could not afford a pen. So I committed everything to memory. So I went there, studied by him, and only after 2.5 years of studying by him did I have the guts to ask him if the story was true or not. When I asked him, he said, yes, this story is true. He said, I couldn't afford a pen, so I committed everything to memory. He told one of the other students that he has 1,000 Persian poems memorized that he regurgitated to his ustad. So the memory was something that they focused strongly on strengthening. Does anyone know why we have weak memories? The reason that memories go weak is because of sinning. Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi says, شَكَوْتُ إِلَى وَكِيعِي بِسُوءِ حِفْظِي فَأَوْصَانِي بِتَرْكِ الْمَعَاصِي وَأَرْشَدَنِي أَنَّ الْعِلْمَ نُورٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَنُورُ اللَّهِ لَا يُعْطَى لِعَاصِي. I told my teacher, Waki' ibn Jarrah, who was a student of Imam Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi, that my memory is weak. How do I strengthen my memory? Why is it so difficult for me to memorize things about the deen? So فَأَوْصَانِي بِتَرْكِ الْمَعَاصِي. He said, stop sinning. This knowledge is nurun min Allah, is the nur from Allah. وَنُورُ اللَّهِ لَا يُعْطَى لِعَاصِي. And the nur of Allah is not granted to the one who disobeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Imām Ghazālī rahmatullah alayhi has this awakening, and he goes and he commits everything to memory, and he studies by another legend by the name of Imam Juwayni rahmatullah alayhi. Does anyone know what the nickname of Imam Juwayni is? Imam Juwayni's nickname is Imam al-Haramain, the Imam of the two Harams. In the Shafi'i fiqh, Imam Juwayni is the dawn. Imam Ghazālī is also a legend, but obviously Imam Juwayni is his teacher, and arguably he was the most knowledgeable scholar of the era. And when a man like Juwayni, in his hands fall a man like Ghazālī, then you see the true growth and the flowering of that mind take place. You see, you can have great teachers, but not great students. You can have great students, but not great teachers. But when you have a great teacher and a great student, then that unlocks the full potential of that student. It completely unlocks them and takes them on because it widens their horizon. And if you have a great teacher, but the students are bekar, they're not great, and that teacher's knowledge is wasted. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi, Imam Shafi'i rahmatullahi alayhi, the great scholar, he studied under many legends, one of them being Imam Malik. Imam Malik was, tens and thousands of people would sit in his lecture of hadith. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi was born 93 Hijri, less than a century after the Prophet ﷺ passed away. And he would give his hadith lecture in Medina, in Masjid al-Nabawi. And there would be thousands of people sitting down, and you wouldn't even hear a page flip. That was the discipline in the dars of Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi. And people from far and wide would come. The Khalifa of the time went to Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi and said, come to my palace and teach my kids. Imam Malik rahmatullahi alayhi said, al-ilmu yu'ta wa la ya'ti. You must come to knowledge must not come to you. So he was very sought after, and you hear about the Maliki madhab, and you hear about his influence in Islam for the last 13 centuries of what has took place. So Imam Shafi'i studied under Imam Malik as well. And Imam Shafi'i went to Egypt and revolutionized his entire thought, because he also studied by Layth ibn Sa'd, who was a great scholar. He's buried in Cairo. Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi says, between my two teachers, Malik and Layth by the way means lion. There's over 600 words for lion in the Arabic language. One of my teacher's teacher, Mawlana Musa Wahani Bazi, wrote a book where he compiled over 600 words in the Arabic language for lion. Asad means lion, Shibr means lion, Usama means lion, Ghazanfar, Gryffindor, Ghazanfar is lion, Layth means lion. All of these words mean lion. So anyway, Imam Shafi'i rahmatullah alayhi says, between the two teachers of mine, Layth kana afqah min Malik. Layth was leaps and bounds more knowledgeable than my teacher Malik. وَلَكِنْ أَصْحَابَهُ ضَيَّعُوهُ. But Layth didn't get the students that were good enough to push his message and his knowledge forward. He had Bekar students. That's why his name didn't live on. There weren't only 4 imams. There were hundreds of them. And there were imams who were way more knowledgeable than the 4 imams' names that you hear about. The likes of Ishaq bin Raweh, massive scholar. Hassan al-Basri, massive individual. But again, their knowledges didn't remain. They got great students, but there was a certain barakah to what these 4 imams got, that their students went and just progressed their message, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a unique barakah. So Imām Ghazālī rahmatullah alayhi, he becomes this, he's very ambitious. And many of us are very ambitious. We want to conquer the world, especially when you're young. You want to do everything and anything. And in those days, one of the most, like the highest position, the elite position that you could be as a scholar, was a scholar for who? Anyone know? Put yourself 900 years ago. Where would, if you're a scholar, where do you want to be sitting and teaching? Medina, Makkah, okay, good.
Kufa.
The Kaaba.
The Kaaba, good.
Baghdad.
Huh?
Baghdad.
Baghdad, good. Aqsa. The most prestigious place was the king's palace. Right? The king's palace, that was the most prestigious one. Though there's more barakah everywhere else, prestige was there. So Imām Ghazālī rahmatullah alayhi was called by Nizam al-Muluk. And he was the Seljuk leader to the palace. And he saw Imām Ghazālī rahmatullah alayhi being this brilliant polymath. And no one could debate Ghazālī. Like, he could draw rings around everybody. So he takes him and he says, okay, I want you to be an instructor in Madrasa Nizamiyya. Now this was like the Harvard of the Muslim Empire. It was the most pristine school. And he's in his 30s. So he's young and he's given this high position in this remarkable school. And he starts teaching there. Now, you're on top of the world. You have the king's backing. Literally, a revolt took place in Andalus, and the Murabitin removed the reigning party and overthrew the entire governance from one fatwa, Imām Ghazālī rahmatullah alayhi. That's the power and the prestige he had. While he's sitting at the height of his influence, he has a spiritual awakening. He said, I'm the scholar, I have thousands of students. And now we're talking about like legends, like how many of you know Ibn Aqil? Author of? Which book? Sharh Ibn Aqil. Right, the famous Ibn Aqil, you have the sharh that is done of the Alfiyah is of Ibn Aqil. The Nahwi, the grammarian. He was the student of Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi. So giants went and studied by Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi. Imām Ghazālī rahmatullahi alayhi says, I feel a spiritual death. While you're teaching the deen, while you're sitting in the best place, while you are creating scholars, he says, I feel a spiritual death inside. And he says, I'm going to do Hajj. And then he dips for 10 years. 10 years, he doesn't give any lectures, doesn't give any talks. Yeah, in his little halaqa, in his place, he came back to his little Isra. And he would have his little dars and stuff. But largely 10 years, the man ghosted everyone. He spent times in Usha? What was that place you guys were talking about, Ahmed? Or Hamza? What was that place?
Shida.
Oshida. Right? I have no idea. It just sounded like an overglorified forest to me. But Oshida, like these forest type of places, going there and connecting with the Creator, seeing the design of the Creator, and awakening your soul from inside. To leave everything. This is not just like I'm off of social media, I'm off of everything. No, if you're still here, you're not off of everything. You're still getting your pancha from somewhere. Still getting your gossip from somewhere. And be like, oh yeah, I'm super low key. Super low key, Ghazālī standards mean disappear. Be completely out of sight. I need to focus on my spirituality. And it is these experiences that make him write these magnificent books, over 70 of them. And his magnum opus was what? Does anyone know the name of the book, his magnum opus? Ihya Ulumuddin. Volume this book, and it's a mastery. And he writes it, why? Is because he says that I see scholarship everywhere, but there is a spiritual death that is taking place. So he goes and he writes this book, incredible book, it's translated into English, order it, read it. And one of his students comes and tells him that, Sheikh, I'm going through the same thing. These are scholars who are first to admit we've been too ambitious and our nafs has taken control of ourselves and we have lost sight of what our purpose is. So then he says, okay, he condenses Ihya and he gives a advice on how a person should begin his spiritual journey so that they can end with serenity with their creator. And that's the book we have in front of us. It's in Urdu they will say the nichor. If you have something and you kind of squeeze it out and you take like the juice from it, this book is the juice of Ihya Ulumuddin. And the style of the book is that there will be different, the focus is in fiqh. Fiqh will come up in this book and we'll kind of do tangents because we love our tangents. But the goal is not fiqh in this book. And some of the Shafi'i opinions are incorrect and I'll rebuttal them with the Hanafi opinions, so on. But it's the spiritual journey of the individual. How should the believer's life be designed? And it's a great reminder for you and I. The first chapter, for example, talks about how do we wake up? What's the spiritual mindset that we should have when we wake up? And just like that, throughout our entire day, this book will go through different aspects of our life and what should be the state of your mind. Because your mind and how you cultivate your mind deals with how you are connected to your creator. And what your mind thinks about during certain instances and situations is what your relationship with your Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. So anyway, we have about 25-30 minutes, so I'm going to kind of go through this a little quickly. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What we are doing is basically taking traditional books and teaching it to you in the traditional method. So when we study by our teachers, they'd read the Arabic text, they'd explain, they'd expound on it, and that's what I hope to do this year, inshallah, with you guys, that every month, 2 months, we take few texts. We may not finish every text, but introduce you to different scholars and different texts. And again, this book is available in English. We'll post it inside the chats as well. And you're welcome to read the book on your own. Come ask questions, take notes. Don't be the person who just listens and that's it. What is our goal here? Our goal here is to truly make a difference. And I'll let Ghazālī explain it himself, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, haqqa hamdihi, wa salatu ala Muhammadin Rasulillah. All praises are due to Allah, how he ought to be praised, and durood and salutations are upon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his message. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi min ba'd, amma ba'd, fa'lam ayyuhal haris. O seeker of knowledge, know one thing, that in order to truly seek knowledge and quench your thirst, make sure that your knowledge is not there. تقصد بطلب العلم المنافسة والمباهة والتقدم على الأقران واستعمالات وجوه الناس إليك وجمع حطام الدنيا فأنت ساعٍ في هدم دينك وإهلاك نفسك. He says, when you are seeking the deen, what's the goal? What's the purpose? What's the intention? Niyat we talk about all the time, but literally the difference between where you're going to be in Jannah is based on your niyat. Every one of us are doing the exact same thing in this room. Listening, teaching the da'wah of the deen. How sincere you are differentiates who's going to get the most reward in this room versus who's going to get the least reward. It's all in sincerity. Everyone's going to pray the salah together, But each person will be rewarded differently. It's all based on sincerity. So he says, if your intention is what? Number one, so people turn towards you. People acknowledge you. People know you. You're respected. You're seen in a good light. That people are like, oh, he's a good Muslim. Oh, they're always involved in the masjid. Oh, they're studying the deen. Oh, you know, Dallas has this stereotype or infamy that's built for it. That the people of Dallas, they love halaqas, they love lectures, they love talks, and it's not like a hip thing to do. When I was growing up, my friends never got on like, hey, yo, you trying to go to a halaqa? Wallah, I don't remember this ever happening. In your guys' time, it's literally like this, and then your post moves and your pre moves. This is the culture, which is really impressive. I'm not gonna lie, it's super impressive. May Allah bless you guys in this, but the goal should not be to just be there for the sake of being there. وَجَمْعَ حُطَامِ الدُّنْيَا. And some people, what they do is they like to study the deen so that I can teach. So that I can, one person I remember, I was sitting by a campfire, and I was like, hey, what do you want to do? And he's like, I want to study the deen so that I can serve the deen and make good money. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, so I can be a speaker and I can do this and I can travel and I can make good money and also be involved with the deen. I said, bro, those two don't go together. I was like, when you serve the deen, the goal isn't to get the dunya through it. And he had a very hard time understanding this. And he was like, well, look at this and that. And I said, no. I was like, but that's not the maqsad, that's not the purpose. The goal isn't to get the dunya. You rather get the deen through the dunya than get the dunya through the deen. You rather get deen through your dunya, using your dunya to get deen. Then use your deen to get more dunya, to get more respect, to get more clout, to get more attention, to monetize, to make money, to do this. You rather avoid it. There's a necessity and all of that, and obviously that's a different story. We're talking about people who are just ambitious to earn money and earn dunya for the sake of it. So Ghazālī uses a very interesting example. He says that you will be breaking the foundation of your deen. Why does he use this statement? You'll be breaking the foundation of your deen. Can anyone tell me? What is Islam built on?
Knowledge.
Knowledge, good. What else?
Worshipping Allah.
Worshipping Allah, okay, what else?
Intention.
Intention, very good. Akhirah, very good.
Pillars.
Buni al-Islam ala khamsin. The Prophet ﷺ said Islam is built on 5 pillars. Islam is like a structure, it's like a home. And you're inside this home, and it protects you from the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you start navigating away from your purpose, then you are breaking this house from inside, and you're shattering and destroying the structure and this protective mechanism that you have built around yourself. وَبَيْعِ آخِرَتِكَ بِالدُّنْيَا فَصَفَقَتُكَ خَاسِرَةٌ وَتِجَارَتُكَ بَائِرَةٌ. He says that you are selling your hereafter for the dunya, and this is, you're getting ripped off, because the hereafter is eternal. It never gets old, it never gets boring, it never gets dull, and you're selling this hereafter that just goes on and on and on for something that is finite in this dunya. So that's a terrible business too right there. So you're getting ripped off. You did it for what? A nice car, nice food? The alternative was infinitely better food that you have ever tasted in this world forever. For a nice car that goes, what, 60, 80 miles per hour that you can't even drive over the speed limit? And Allah's given you something infinitely better where you can fly. You want a house? Allah's giving you a Jannah that is multiple times the size of this planet. You're getting ripped off. You're getting ripped off. And he says, don't sell your dunya for the hereafter. That's not a deal you want to make. And then he continues and he says, وَمُعَلِّمُكَ مُعِينٌ لَكَ عَلَىٰ عِصْيَانِكَ وَشَرِيكٌ لَكَ فِي خُسْرَانِكَ وَهُوَ كَبَائِعِ سَيْفٍ مِّن قَاطِعِ الطَّرِيقِ وَمَنْ أَعَانَ عَلَىٰ مَعْصِيَةٍ وَلَوْ بِشَطْرِ كَلِمَةٍ كَانَ شَرِيكًا فِيهَا. He says, and your teacher is also to blame. If you're a person whose intentions are wrong and your teacher is teaching it and they know this, then your teacher is a culprit with you. Not only that, they will get the same sin as you will for empowering someone who is doing a disservice and their intentions are right for the deen. And then he gives an example. He says the example is, I'll do it in our day and age. You're giving a gun to a robber. You're giving a gun to a murderer. What is he going to do? He's going to use that gun. He's going to use the weapon of deen in the wrong direction, against himself and against other people. So he says that to be able to teach and rectify is also very important. You know, some of our teachers and our asatidha, certain like qira'ah, recitation of the Quran, in its multiple methods, is a very popular thing. And sometimes people charge a lot of money for this. Our teacher, Qari Ayyub, would not teach everyone sab'a qira'at. You had to study by them for 4 years, 5 years, then write a request, and then they go and they see, what's your goal, what's your plan? And he used to say, I don't want to make a stage qari. I don't want to make the one who's just traveling, giving qira'at, making money, and that's it. That's the goal of his life. No, that's not the maqsad, that's not the purpose. So as a teacher, it's their responsibility as well to do the tarbiyah, to make sure that the students, their mindset and mentality is going in the right direction. وقصدك فيما بينك وبين الله تعالى من تعلم العلم الهداية دون مجرد الرواية فأبشر فإن ملائكة السماء تبسط لك أجنحتها إذا مشيت. He says, well, if your intention for seeking knowledge is getting guidance from Allah, what does hidayah mean? Does anyone know what hidayah means?
Guidance.
Guidance, okay. What's another word for it?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Close, okay. What else? Gift. Hadiyah.
Knowledge.
Knowledge, good. Hidayah in Arabic has layered meanings to it, right? One meaning of hidayah is isal, connection. So when you have hidayah, you're connected to Allah. You know when you have Wi-Fi on your phone, and you're connected, and the bars are full, and the internet speeds like this, that's hidayah. And when you get farther from Allah, the signal starts dropping. And sometimes we only realize when the signal is completely gone. That the signal was getting weak, some bandwidth happening, we didn't realize how far we've moved on until the call begins to drop, until the page isn't loading, until the video stops. They're like, I'm too far. But you still have a chance to come back and be back inside the connection. And that is what hidayah is. That the believer is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It also comes from the Arabic word hadi. Hadi is the animal that they take to Hajj and Umrah for slaughtering. And you have to put a leash around the animal. Because what happens when you let go of the leash? It runs away. And we say, Ya Allah, hold on to us with the leash. Because if you let us go, we're just going to go in some random direction. You ever been to a store? You know, some people, they get very distracted very quickly in a store. You know, may Allah have mercy on my mother and give her a long and healthy life. Says, Mom, what do you need? Beta doodh and dahi. I just need milk and yogurt. 20 minutes later, there's a cart full. What happened? Oh yeah, I need this, all of these other things. Get distracted. My teacher, Mawlana Sulaiman Choksi, mentioned a story. He said, now again, these people, they don't use phones. It's kind of absurd when I think about it, that I know a generation who literally like hundreds of people who have no connection to this technological world. It's kind of wild, actually. But Marchoksi was mentioning, he said that his wife told him that, hey, I need you to get a few things, go to the store and get it for me. So he goes inside the store and he's walking around. And this is a man whose memory is solid. But obviously he's getting older, human. No one's memory is perfect all the time. He's walking around the store, and the shop owner sees Marchoksi, because Marchoksi is like a legend in South Africa. Everybody knows him. He goes to him and says, Maulana, everything okay? You're looking for something. He said, Mauli Saab, my wife told me to get something. I can't remember for the life of me, what is it? So he said, okay. He said, is it this thing? He said, no. He said, is it this thing? He said, Mauli Saab, मैंने 1 घंटे के अंदर 6-10 दूसरे चीजें पकड़ लिया. He said, in that hour, I picked up 6-10 different things. And I came home without that one thing that I was supposed to go get. He said, and then I realized that this is how we are in the dunya, that we get everything but the thing that we were sent to get. He says that the goal is to get the reward of the hereafter. And if you are a person that masters this, and your intention every time when you go for a khutbah, a class, a lecture is, how can I bring this into my action? Whatever I hear today, I'm going to bring it into reality, and my purpose and my goal is I get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is the initial reward you get? When celebrities are going different places, they put red carpets in front of them. They have paparazzi that takes their pictures, and people talk about them. And the same people that are there following them are also looking for them to slip and make mistakes. So the moment they make mistakes, they can go and they can, gossip about them. But when the student of knowledge goes out for the sake of the deen to learn, like all of you guys here, the moment you got out of your bed or wherever you were, the Prophet ﷺ said that every step of yours, angels from the heavens come down and they lay their wings. And some angels in the heavens have over 600 wings. And you don't get a red carpet, but you get a white carpet. And you don't have paparazzi and these people talking about you, but Allah commissions the fish in the sea, the ants in the ground, and the birds in the sky to ask forgiveness from Allah for the mistakes you make. So while the fame of the dunya, people are looking for your mistakes, the one who treads for the hereafter, Allah sends His creation to ask forgiveness for your mistakes. إِذَا مَشَيْتَ, when you walk towards, what does that mean? The live feet is better than the live stream. The live feet is better than the live stream. Walking and coming in person is better than watching it online. I don't know if the malaika is going to put all of their wings under your bed or strengthen your Wi-Fi. But what does it mean? It means, number one, that you have Allah's rahmah around you. Number two, you have support. Allah will give you strength in it. There was a scholar by the name of Allāmah Taftazani, rahmatullahi alayhi. Allāmah Taftazani was like myself. Very slow, very, bad memory, not very studious. No, he was very studious. I went too deep into myself. Not smart, not intelligent. And then one day he sees a dream of the Prophet ﷺ, and he's studying, and someone is trying to talk to him, and he says, I don't have time. And that person puts their saliva inside him and does dua for him, and he wakes up like his mind is just awakened now. And he has this awakening, and he becomes this brilliant scholar. There's a book that he does a sharh of commentary of called Mukhtasar al-Ma'ani. Generally speaking, forget about, like when I studied Mukhtasar al-Ma'ani, when I would go and talk to other scholars and institutes, and I would tell them that I studied Mukhtasar al-Ma'ani, they'd be blown away. They'd be like, we studied Mukhtasar al-Ma'ani? And then in the caliber of scholars, the one who taught Mukhtasar al-Ma'ani were considered like geniuses. And this man is the one who wrote the commentary, Allāmah Taftazani. And his beginning was what? It was simple. But he strived, he dedicated, he did it for Allah's sake, and Allah gave him an awakening. And Allah can do that for all of us. You can wake up one day with a prolific memory, and you can absorb everything and digest everything. Your life can change. But in order for that to happen, the intentions have to be sincere. He says that guidance, هي ثمرة العلم لها بداية والنهاية وظاهر وباطن ولا وصول إلى نهايتها إلا بعد إحكام بدايتها. He says that guidance has a beginning and an end. The beginning of guidance, the book's name is called Bidayat Al-Hidaya, the beginning of guidance. He says the beginning of guidance begins from taqwa. And he talks about three groups of people. He says that all people are of three categories. The first category is the group of people that learn the deen and they act on it as much as possible. Whatever they learn, it has to be part of my life. He said these are the winners. The second category is the ones who listen and they say, inshallah. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, we're gonna start this. He said those group of people, if they don't die before doing tawbah, then they have a really bad situation coming up before them. He said if they do tawbah, at-ta'ibu min adh-dhanb kaman la dhanba lah. Hadith in Ibn Majah. The one who does tawbah from their sins is like the one who has no sins. And the third category of people is the ones who listen, learn, they still do wrong, and they think whatever they're doing is correct. And they have no remorse. These are the people that are veiled. Their consciousness is veiled from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, we have this thing called awakenings, right? And the mind opens up and there's intellectual awakening, right? And it's actually interesting is because any person who comes up with a great idea, it literally comes from nowhere. You can argue that their experiences and their education led them down there, but every discovery or every great thing is literally what? Out of the middle of nowhere. That awakening that just takes place. That where things just make sense. The imagery that just comes in place. The thought that gets planted into the mind. And we all need a spiritual awakening. But the reality is us being alive and being in the world right now, this is the spiritual awakening. But because of our nafs and our lack of desire to process this and advance towards it, we are veiled. ختم الله على قلوبهم وعلى سمعهم وعلى أبصارهم. So while everything around us should remind us of Allah, our minds are veiled and we're blinded. We're awake but we're asleep. And the moment we have the true realization of what our purpose in life is, then we have our spiritual awakening. So how does that happen? So Ghazālī rahmatullahi says that the beginning of it has to start with outward taqwa. Consciousness that Allah is watching me and that I'm accountable to Allah. To cultivate and constantly think about this. Inna ma'iya rabbi. That my Allah is with me. And my Allah sees me. يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورُ. He sees when the eyes betray, and he knows what the heart conceals. Focus on this, because what this will do is that this outward mentality will transcend inside and change your internal self and bring internal taqwa inside you. So you bring taqwa from the zahir, from the outside, and the taqwa from the batin, from the inside, will manifest itself. But in order for that to happen, you need to start changing the way you think. So each week, inshallah, we'll give some assignments. And the assignment for this week is think as much as possible. in a day. And, put a reminder on your phone that reminds you at nighttime. How many times did you tell yourself Allah is watching me? And every time you remember this, go into your notes, put a little tally or something, and go through the day. How many times do I remind myself that I am in the sight of my Allah? Do an action. Because what is Ghazālī saying? Don't be that person. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ the night of Isra. The Prophet ﷺ saw people taking scissors from Jahannam and cutting their lips and their tongue. The Prophet ﷺ said, Jibreel, what is this? And the Prophet Jibreel ﷺ said, Ya Rasulullah, these are people who spoke of the deen, but they did not act on the deen. They know the deen, but they didn't do anything. You have one person who says ignorance is bliss. And they're terrible. Right? That's not a good option. You can't be that guy that says, wait, let me finish the Doritos and then tell me. And the other one who's 1,000 times worse is the one who knows and still does it wrong. Both are wrong. But the goal is to bring a change in ourselves. And what we want to do is every week go through action items on how we can improve our spirituality and our connection and relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With that being said, I know it's Maghrib time, inshallah. Give maybe 3-4 minutes for Q&A if anyone has any questions.